have missed this. I've been away. There's a lot that's happened in the last several months. I got forced back to night shift, which is really affecting my sleep and energy levels. I sold my house. I bought a new house. Yeah, a lot's happened. A lot has happened. But I, in my spare time, have been working on all of this. The last video was what, probably closer to 10 months ago, something like that. Yeah. You can't see my face. Yeah. There we go. So in the last video, I ended by kind of teasing this portion behind me here. And so that's what we're going to go over and talk a little bit about the future. You know, the future is important. I got a lot of plans, and so yeah, let's just get right into this. So what this is there's a lot of buttons here, and each one of these buttons does a thing, not necessarily a different thing. Like all 5 of these do the same thing, all 5 of these do the same thing, and so on and so forth. Some of them are unique, like these all do different things. The overall concept, now at the end of the last video, I think I told you about that I came up with a name for the system, which is, it's a world item management system is basically what all of this is about. So I figured make that an acronym. I like acronyms. So World Item Management System becomes WIMS. So this is WIMS. And so I said, if this is WIMS, which is pretty cool, and this is the brain of WIMS. The last video, I think when I peeked over this at the end of it, most of this wasn't here. I think there's like some of this portion over here, you know, that was probably it. And of course, like all this stuff down here. Yeah, but the mass majority of all of this was not here. Let me just explain what exactly this is and what it does. So each one of these buttons doesn't necessarily click to a redstone line. What it actually does is it actuates a dispenser or a dropper, that then puts an item into another dropper that then actuates this one line right here. So what it does is it actuates this dropper, which then drops one of these items, and it drops it into this water stream. This water stream carries it up here, and it will pump it into one of 2 spots, either here or over there. So what happens is you can either have it written to this chest here. See? Wait for it. There. Or you can have it written to the shulker. So here you can't really see it, but you can hear it. Wait, listen. You can kind of see it from that. There we go. So now the item is in the shulker. So each item is renamed a different thing. So this is all basically just wool that's renamed. This is one reason why I had that massive, well, still have it on the main survival world. I have all that wool going. And so what happens is you rename all this stuff, and of course they can't stack up inside of here. So that's why they're all different colors, even though they might do the same thing, right? Like this here. That's the first one. This here. These 2 blocks here do the exact same thing. They're named the same thing, but they're just different colors. That way they don't stack inside of here, because you only want one of each. So think of this as like a USB drive. That is what a shulker is being used as, is like a USB drive to store information. So I can then take that information, carry it around, do whatever I want with it. And I can put it into the system down here, and it will run that program. So each one of these items will be picked up by item sorters, and you can see like one of these 5. If any one of these gets actuated, it actuates this here. And so all of this here is a bunch of logic. So this is it's combining logic that you can program with logic that is physical logic of Redstone. So basically, this is like the hardware, the CPU, the motherboard, the RAM, all that. And then this is like the coding that a program would run. So like I said, you can put the information into one of 2 spots, either here, and then you can send it off. And when you do that, it resets, because like I said, they cannot stack. So you can only use one per, if you're writing to a shulker chest. You can fit 27 items in a shulker chest. So you can press 27 of these buttons, and whenever this reaches its cap point of 27, it will break the shulker and it will reset all these, saying, okay, well, new shulker, so therefore you can reuse that button. With this, it's a little different. So you can push all these buttons until all this fills up here. However, now that I think about it, really, you can only do half of this, because it's a chest cart that comes to pick it up, all the information. Anyways, so I might switch this to like a barrel or something. Anyways, you can, if the program doesn't take up all of the shulker chest, like maybe it only takes up 7 spots of the shulker chest, right? You can hit this button and it breaks that, and then you just start pistons, and that's clearing all of the inputs. So now you can take this, and you can see this is the same as this, just different color. So there are 3 parts to this system. The first is this right here. This is the manual mode, right? So you can go, you can program whatever, and you can have it go ahead and do all this stuff. All that is processed by all of this logic over here. It will accept the shulkers, or it will accept the manual input. And you can do both at the same time, because there's another one of the other 3 parts can be run at the same time as this, and those items are sorted differently. So, but anyways, this handles all of the logic for the manual system right here. This line that goes all the way out here. Don't pay attention to any of this stuff here. This is all pretty much just, except for these lines right here. All this is just all experimental stuff that I then copy and paste using Lightmatica, which is an awesome program to do what I do in a creative world, to design all this. Now, reminder, this is just me designing this. I will be building this in the survival world. That's what I'm digging the giant hole for. So manual mode is pretty straightforward. I have some inputs in here that don't matter, because I was implementing a certain part of the system, and then I realized, wait, there's a whole nother part of this whole system here. The one of the other 3 parts of the system will be handling all this stuff, so I actually don't need this. But however, I want to be able to connect and talk to that part of the system, which will be built over here where you see this blank area. So I want to be able to talk to that system, though, even if this system is running. And so that is what these inputs will end up being for. So I'll have to reconfigure all this stuff here. But yeah, we'll get there. Anyways, the manual system here, this is all the logic here. Now, one of the biggest parts of how this and the other 2 parts of the system work and how they function is by asking one question. Really 2 questions, but one question, which is if. If yes, this, then do that. If no, that, then do this. That is extremely important. That's the premise of how most of this logic works. It's how I'm able to do a whole algorithm of things. So to kind of go into more detail here, like this here, the benefit of this as well, like I get that so this would be kind of slow, to be honest. However, it's all autonomous. Benefit of this is that I can set it, forget it, and it will just do whatever it is that I need it to do in the background so that I don't have to while I do something else. So this program right here, this is to request back items. And so let's say I'm about to start a massive redstone build, or just a redstone build, and I need a shulker chest that's full of certain redstone items to do my work, right? So this isn't about redstone items here. That's not what it's requesting back, but it doesn't matter. Same concept. So basically, it will reset the system. It will turn off the shulker stuff. It can control everything that I can control manually in here. It can control remotely from that program that I can write autonomously, which is really, really neat. So I can, if you all forget what this is I can request back using binary. Here's your alphabet line and here's your numeric line, and so you have like alpha 1, right? So this is all alpha here, this would be all beta here, this is all 1s, this is all 2s, so on and so forth. And this just lays out these grids of all these modules, right? So this is just a massive, insane storage system that I can request back items. Now I can request them back to come to these chests right here. I can request it back to the penthouse that will be up at the very top of the skyscraper, way up there. Or I can make it rain, which means all the items come out right here. Then I can also select the shulker loader on or off. So now it's saying, okay, shulker loader's on or off. So I can have all those items go into a shulker chest if I want, or I can just get back those items if I don't want an extra shulker chest or whatever in my inventory. This system can do all of that autonomously, which is really neat. So I can tell it, instead of shulker off, I can say shulker on, and then I can tell it, here's that code for that module for redstone or for repeaters or whatever it is that I need. And I can say how many, whatever I want, if I want individual items or if I want stacks. See, so I can request back 1 + 2, which makes 3 stacks of that. Okay, end of thought. That will clear all of this information here. Then I can say, okay, now for this item here, I want 1 single item. So that's how this sort of thing works. And it just goes through all of this stuff. So I can have certain stuff sent to the chest, and then after a while, I can have certain things sent to the penthouse. All in one shulker chest, just like that. Now I can say penthouse, shulker on, and then I give the coordinates of the last module and say how many of stacks of that I want, and then that is the absolute end of thought. So there is end of thought, which clears certain information like the binary location stuff, or just the binary, which would indicate the amount of those items that I want. I can say that end of thought there, that will clear all that stuff. And then at the very end, what ends the program is the absolute end of thought. That ends everything. That says, okay, I'm completely done. Let's wrap this up. Next program. If there's certain things that I want a program to do, I don't think this program has it. This one will. So if there's certain things that I want it to do, which this is where the if yes, if no logic comes into play here, I can say if yes, this. So if the IDD AIRS is on, so yes or no to that, then it will wait. So that basically means that the IDD is the item dump and dispense. If this is on, then it will wait until it is no longer doing anything. But if it is already off, it will skip this stuff here to this point, the bracket. And so that's what the bracket does. It's the yes-no response cap is what I'm calling it. I don't know. I would gotta come up with better names for this stuff. But so it will skip to this point, and then it will continue on with the program here. And then it says, if yes, this, then do this. If it's a no, then it will skip it, and then it will continue on to this. And then it says, if yes to this, then it'll do that. If it is a no, then it will skip that to this, and then it will say what module and put in the item. So what this does here, what this specific program does, is the ASDM item swap. So each one of these modules is the ASDM. It is the ASDM, which stands for Auto Sort and Dispense Module. So that's what each one of these modules is for each item. So what it basically does is for this module right here, it will reset that. So it will reset the item that's in it, and then the next item, which this actually gets replaced by whatever it is. If I want barrels in that module, then I put a barrel right there, and it will actually put that barrel in the sorter of that module. So now it will only accept barrels into that module. And I can do this all remotely. However, there is still maintenance stuff that has to be done manually, which would be like if I have that module already accepting certain items and it's already filled somewhat with certain items, I have to go and manually take those items out. Or I could just take as many out here, but then I would end up with a low error, and then I'd still have to go up there and take the rest of them out. So it'd probably be easier just to go up there with a few shulker boxes and take all those items out. Might set up like a shulker area where I can put down some shulkers and it'll just suck all the items out of that module. I don't know. Something to think about for the future. So that ties into the other system that we'll be going over, though. So I think that basically covers what the concept is of this. And why, let's rethink Redstone, because it's not just Redstone wire and logic, it's actual programming within that Redstone, right? It's not me pushing buttons, and it's not the Redstone logic only doing something. It's dependent on what it's instructed to do, which I think is completely different. I've never seen anyone do this before with Redstone. I'm probably wrong about that. Somebody has probably done this. I've seen a few like light versions of this, like on Hermitcraft. There's a guy named Tango on there. He has done some stuff with this sort of concept, but definitely not to this scale. And he also did it after I already had the idea and started building this. So, yeah. So there's the manual system. So there's 3 systems here. And so here's like the color coding of the yes-no logic buses. So here's the yes-no. So also, so basically when it says if yes or if no, it unlocks one of these 2 things here. And depending on the response, if it is yes or if it is no, depends on what it does. I'm not going to get into that kind of detail, but so it has a yes-no bus for the manual system. Now there's also a yes-no bus for the other system and a yes-no bus for the other system, for the third system. So with that being said, there is the manual mode, which is light blue. As you can see, there's a light blue for the manual system. The second system is a maintenance system, which is yellow. And so you can see it is right here, wraps up around here. The maintenance system is over in here, and all of what you see here-ish, basically. It's kind of hard to point out. Basically from like here over and from like this point down, and then all of this here that you see right in this area. That's all the maintenance system. Now the third system is a system that we haven't actually done yet, and that system I want to actually build on camera, and walk you guys through it, because it will be using the same kind of concept that I have done for the other two systems here, but in a different way. So I kind of want to go through that process with you guys now that I have my mind really wrapped around how to actually do this sort of thing and what is actually necessary. Now, with that being said, you may have seen with already on the signs, this says maintenance AI. And then this one, the third one, which will be represented by pink for the yes, no logic line, which is, you can see down there. It just says AI. Now, of course, it's not actually AI. I know. I get it. It's not actually AI. You probably might be able to get something close to it, but I really don't understand AI enough. I'm not a programmer. I don't understand that sort of stuff anyways. But as close as you can get to actual AI with Redstone, this is probably it, which also means I can put AI in my video titles, which means since it's a hot topic in the world right now, it's kind of clickbait. Yes, I'm using it for clickbait. Sue me. All right, we've basically gone over the manual system. I'm not going to go into any real big details of how this works because that's probably just going to bore you guys. If you really, really wanted it, if I got enough requests for it, I might make some videos that go into details about all the little functions of the system and how it actually works. So from the manual system, let's go on to the maintenance system. All right, so before, as you can see here, this is from the old display here. This is the new display. It is much less resolution, but you can see how much more room has actually been made for this, which also accounts for way less lag. So before, I had all the faults just come right into here, then this would actuate all the ROM for the display, and it would just, whenever there's a system fault, it would just instantly come on and display on here, and then it would flip the little trapdoor thingy that actuates the pearl here. So it would actuate this little flippy door thingy that would then teleport me to here no matter where I was whenever there was a fault at all. That could get annoying because it'll probably have several faults with it. That I just think that sounds like a lot of work. So why work harder than I should? You know what they say, work smarter, not harder. I have built this system here. So smaller display, less resolution, but it still gets the job done. I'm happy with it because the display isn't as functional as what I originally thought that it would need to be. It really doesn't serve a whole lot of a purpose. It's cool, it's nice, it's whatever. The magic is all of this here. So now what happens is that the fault logic all comes down to here, and it stops here for now. So if there's a fault, let's say one of the modules is too full, so it is giving a high signal, which comes down here. So it comes down here, it gives a high signal. The system senses that, hey, there's a fault. It will give the location right here through the LBB, or the location binary bus. And after so long, what it does is it sends a signal, and anything that is actuated right here, it'll send a signal that will push these pistons down one by one. Bop, 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 a nice little ripple. And all that information, which is like, since we're talking about high, if it is a high fault, then it will push out high. And so it does the same sort of thing that the manual system does. However, now all that information gets pumped into a shulker chest. That shulker chest comes up here, and it puts out all of its information into this chest here. This chest here comes along here, puts in all of its information into what fault it is and the location binary bus information. And then this is what will actually say, okay, what fault is this? And it will put it on display. However, it will not summon me, because what it will end up doing is it will end up troubleshooting this problem on its own. And if the system cannot come up with a solution, then it will summon me to come and fix it, because there's only so much that it can do in reality to the game. There's only so much that Redstone can do. A lot of stuff actually requires a player. So, but it's still neat because it will solve majority of any issue that can happen. You may be asking, why would you want to put this information into a shulker chest and then have that shulker chest get unloaded? Well, that shulker chest gets unloaded and it gets pumped down here to down below into this section here. It'll get dispensed out right here. So now what happens is that all this fault logic here, so the fault signals come around here, they do their thing through here to do all the stuff in the display, and then right here all the faults come down here, and this little bit here determines which fault is actually at fault. If you have two modules that are high, then it will actually give a multi-signal. So instead of giving the high logic signal, it will actually give the multi. And the multi then will run whatever it is that it needs to do to sort through all the right stuff. For sake of just demonstrating, let's just say it's a high fault for one of the modules. So it goes up here and it actuates through this line here, which line of logic to use. In addition to, it comes up here and it says, okay, we ran the high, and that pumps another item that comes around this stream here and then dumps into where the shulker is now sitting. So all the information that was in the shulker gets loaded into the system. All that information then comes back down here and gets loaded back into that shulker. And then as the system is troubleshooting and doing things, it's logging the things that it's doing, like saying, okay, we're running the high program. And so it will say, okay, we ran the high program. So it pumps the signal through this high line here, and it actuates this program to begin. Since there are 5 faults, there are 5 lines of different logic. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now for the low system, it's a very simple program. Summon the player, end. That's all that it is. The reason why is if one of these modules is low, there's only so much that it can do. Like there's really nothing that it can do other than add that item to the system to then get sorted through that module. There's no way it can do this for the time being. However, in the next update that Mojang has set up for, I believe it's supposed to be released in June, they are adding a new block that has been long awaited. I've been saying and wanting it for so long, and now it's finally here. Hopefully, Mojang, don't let me down. Hopefully, it will be coming in June, which is the auto crafter. So it won't be able to do it for every item in the system, but for certain items, what I'll end up having is that it will end up doing a check to see if that module, based off of the locator binary bus information, is available to create items for that. And if so, then it will trigger a way to use auto crafters to craft that item and then pump it into the system, then to bring up those levels of that module above where it would be considered low. But for now, this is all we got. Summon, end. And then I have to deal with it. Yay. The next one is high, so it has a little bit more of a longer program here. So I think you guys can start seeing how this is really working. This is for the cart reset stuff. This is for like the auto request system. So all the farms up there that need stuff, they can come down here and request items for that farm. There's really only one fault that can happen there. But this should be able to clear it. It should clear itself, but if it doesn't for some reason, maybe something lagged. This should be able to hopefully boost that system and figure out the issue. But if not, it will always summon me at the end. Then we have the IDD. It's a little more complicated, but there's really only two things that it can do for the IDD. Now, if it is a multi-thing, if multiple things are wrong, this is the longest program by far that I have in here. But basically all it does is it asks, is it this? Then run that. If it's the cart, then it'll run the cart program. If it is the high system, then it'll run the high program. If it is low, then it will run the low. If nothing fixed it is the multiple yes, no, then if it is no, then it will end. If it is a yes, then it'll skip to here. Then it'll say it was a change detected, then it'll end. If not, then it will just summon me to figure out what's going on. Now, how I figure out what's going on is I can come and I can see, okay, what is the active fault? I can come up here and say, okay, well, what's the active fault? What's going on here? And then I can say, okay, what has the system done? The way that I figure out what else has gone wrong is I can come down here. So I can come down here, I can grab whatever, and I can look at it and see, okay, what happened? What did you do? Okay, that fixed it, that didn't fix it. Yeah, all that good stuff there. And then that will help me troubleshoot what's actually going on. It will help direct me to where I need to go. Because obviously this thing is way too big to be able to search the whole thing and be like, oh, it's, the problem's right here. You know, you can't really do that. So you need some way to guide yourself. And so you start by seeing what fault is active. And then you can say, okay, well, what has been done? What happened? What did the system do? What was it able to do? Was it able to not do? Or what was it not able to do? And then you can go from there and fix it. Hopefully, I'll never have to do that, but we all know I will, because that's the way things happen. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, or anything that can happen will happen. I believe that's Murphy's Law. Anyways, that is the fault logging system. As you can see, so all of these lines here are connected to the item sorters. Item sorters pump signal down, and then they all pump into the same line, right? So this, and some of them need certain ones, some of them don't need certain ones, so that's why they don't all connect to the same things. Only some of them connect to this or to that. But you can see these connect all to here. And then at the end here, this is where all the logic is at. You know, here's the yes/no logic and all that. And here's the yes/no lines and the yes/no lines, or yes/no bus, I should call it, because it can pick up all these. This is where if it wants to know if this system is still faulted, then it would come through here. Obviously, it would say no, put a signal through the no line. If it was on, then it would send a signal through the yes line. But obviously it's not on. It's not faulted, so it's going to be no. You may have noticed this giant thing right here that has 3 numbers on it. What this is the day. So you can see it's starting to get dark right now. So right now, this villager is asleep. So this observer observed the bed. It observed that the villager's in the bed. It put a 1-tick pulse to the sticky piston. The sticky piston pulled back this redstone block. If we do /time set day, he wakes up. It pumps the signal, 1-tick pulse. It slides this redstone block over. This redstone block then pulses the signal that then adds another day to the day counter. So there you go. Instead of being 434, it is now 435. Now the importance of this is that for each time that there's a fault and it logs it, it sends a signal over here, and it will change direction of the water pass so that it sends all this information over here. It actually grabs this information for the day, so it knows what day it was. So I don't know if you notice with this maintenance log system over here, We go here, you can see 275, 300, 325, 350, and you may also see where it says maintenance request Q50 or Q25. So obviously 300, 325, 350. This was a mistake. There was a flaw in the system. I fixed it since then, so don't worry about it. But then we pick back up at 375. Then there's another flaw in the system because when I fixed this flaw, I created another flaw, which is now fixed. So now you can see it's now fixed again, 425, and then that's a different thing. So it's important to know not only what has gone wrong, but when it went wrong as well. So you can say, oh, well, on day 435, this happened. Well, on day 425, that happened. Oh, well, I can start seeing a trend of this sort of thing happening. Why is this happening every 20 days or whatever, you know? So then it's another more advanced way of troubleshooting. Now, obviously, I have to do all that work. But it's kind of cool though. It really adds to it. In addition to that, what that Q25 maintenance crest Q25 or Q50 or whatever, what that means is that every 25 days it will send out a quarterly maintenance request. And so what that does is basically it pulls from this. This is, if this line is active, that means that this will be displaying a 0. So it will depower this torch. And if on here, if it is a 5 selected, then it will depower this torch. And so whenever this is a 50, or whenever those two numbers are a 25 or a 75, then it will actuate this AND gate here. So see, because it is 5, it is actuating this 5 and is actuating this 5 here. However, because it is not a 2 or a 7, this AND gate is not active. But if it was, then it would pump out something like this here. Maintenance request Q50. Maintenance request quarterly for the 50 day. So there will be certain manual maintenance requests that will be necessary of me every 25 Minecraft days. Now, every Minecraft day, if you are sleeping every single day at the time that you can sleep, that means that it is 25 days times 20 minutes of real life time, which makes 500 minutes, which adds up to 8 hours. So just over 8 hours. So every just over 8 hours, I got to do some sort of manual maintenance to the system. Now, that is only quarterly for the 25, the 50, and the 75. Now, if it was every century, right? So whenever this clicks over to 500, it will actually push out a signal to this here, which is the century maintenance request. So the century maintenance request is the quarterly. It's a certain quarterly maintenance request, but it is a little bit more advanced. It'll be to check certain things of the system up here along the farms and down here in the system that don't need to be checked quite as often, but still need to be checked. Now, in addition to that, whenever this clicks over, right, because obviously you're only limited to 999, it will click over to 000 after that. But technically, if there's another digit here, it would be 1000. I don't see any reason to have that much data in a shulker chest, so I just left it at 3. However, every time that it will click over here, and it will give you the Millennium maintenance request. And that is a very in-depth check, which every 1000 Minecraft days times 20 and is 20,000 minutes. Divided by 60 is 333 hours, which divide that by 24 is 13.88 days of real life time. Now, in addition to that, even though I don't have a 1000 digit here, what I do have is this counter here. It's just a dropper with items in it. this hopper is full of items, and then this chest or this barrel is full of a certain amount of items. However, there's 9 missing because there's 9 here. And then on this row, there are 5 missing because of 5 here. In this barrel, there are none because it hasn't been 1,000 days yet since I built this. It has been 425 or 400, what is it, 35? Yeah, 435 Minecraft days since I got this up and running. I've left it be. There's been a few flaws here and there, but I've recorrected it to about that. It might have been a little less or a little more. I don't really know. But it's around this. It definitely hasn't been 1,000 Minecraft days since I built it. Now, it kind of bothers me that this chest or that this barrel isn't completely full. However, it was before it got loaded into here and into the hopper. But I'm not going to fill it up because there's no reason to. The reason why is because if each one of these is 1,000 Minecraft days, which equals 13.88 days in real life, that means that since there are 27 item slots in this barrel times 64 items in each stack, that gives 1,728 items. Now, if you times that by 1,000 Minecraft days, that gives you 1,728,000 Minecraft days. Now, if you multiply that by 20 minutes per Minecraft day, that gives you 34,560,000 minutes. You ready for this? If you divide that by 60, that gives you 576,000 hours. If you divide that by 24, then that gives you 24,000 real life days. Now, if you divide that by 356.25 days, that gives you 67.36 or 37 years of real life. Years of real life time. Think about that. This will never ever get filled. Now, if I were to reset a module, let's say here, here, here. Why not? Here. Here. We'll just do this here. So it sends all of this information down into this chest cart. And once the system senses that it's all done, it lets the chest cart go off. Chest cart then comes here. It drops off all of its items. All the items go into this shulker chest. It now requests back all of the information there. That goes into the chest cart, so that's the date. And once this senses that, okay, we're for sure good, the signal dies down. It breaks that shulker chest. That shulker chest goes into this chest cart. This chest cart goes off and down there. And we will go up here and wait by the maintenance request. And now we wait. And there it is. Now we have a maintenance request. We have 2 because something broke in the last one. Anyways, so now you can see it says, okay, hey, there's an ASDM reset. This is the module, and this is when it happened. Basically meaning you got to go and make sure that that system is actually cleared out. But it is accepting that item that you wanted it to accept now. So I think that's basically it for the maintenance request. Now, in addition to making the shulker chest programs, let's say you make something like this, but instead of having like the coordinates in here, you just have to put in the coordinates. You can make just a base level of that program, right? And so let's say, okay, well, I want that program, but I want multiples of it, so I can just grab and make like 5 of these to do this, but for like 5 different items. You can actually come down here and there's a copy shulker program function. So you can put the shulker program in here, push the button, and it will take it and put it through a system that will then copy it. It will then, once it's done, it will give back the original program and the copy of it. If there's a fault with it, which there's only really one thing that can happen, it just gives an indication here. There's nothing that the fault logic can do for this sort of thing. If there is a fault here, it's all only manual. This is its own separate thing. It's not connected to the rest of the system at all. All this does is it's a whole separate function just for copying, and it's pretty simple. It's a little bigger than what you'd expect, I think, but that's because it's doing so many different inputs that it has to be able to copy. But it basically just puts the shulker down here that has the program that it wants to copy, and then it shoots off hopper carts here, and then the hopper cart goes along this track here. It goes down there, loops around, comes down here, drops down, and then loops down the underside here, and then loops around and goes through this side here, and then back over, breaks, and again gets back into this barrel here to be reused. So each time that item gets filtered through, what it does is it gets popped out through here, that then gets put back into the system over here, that ends up going back into the shulker chest. So it sends a signal to each one of these droppers here that then will pop out one of these, the same matching item, down into this water stream here, and then into a blank shulker chest. And then once it is full, then it will get broken, put into this chest, and then once this is broken, then it will take the original into this hopper cart. This hopper cart then will come along this track here, suck out the copy, and then up to the chest that you can pick it up at. So we've gone over the first two systems, right? The manual and the maintenance AI. So the last but not least is the AI. It is not built yet. Now it will be using a lot of the same concepts that the manual and that the maintenance system uses. So now that I have my head wrapped around it and that it is, I obviously have proof of concept on what it is and what it does and what it can do. I have a lot better understanding of what I'll need in order to make the system that I really want here. So it needs to be able to be talked to through the manual system. Even if the manual system is running a program, it will be able to still talk. I figured out a way to do that already. It will actually utilize this here. This is a calculator. This calculator system, I'm not going to get too much into it in this video, because we'll get into that in later videos. It's really neat. I will end up giving Matt the credit in the description of the video. Dude is extremely smart. I just added a bunch of logic to be able to allow the AI system to utilize the calculator. This is just save slots. So this is 15 save slots. So number one slot saves the answer every time. Then the rest of them can be programmed to save that answer or whatever. What I plan on doing is to build this system here for the AI, which once again, I understand it's not actually AI, but we're not going to talk about it. It'll be going in here and I will be building that in the next several videos. Dreams will need to be resumed. It's way long overdue. I just have not been feeling very up to doing that. I haven't been feeling very entertaining and whatnot. A lot of lack of energy because I'm back on night shift. Have been for several months and I don't like it, but it is what it is. Here we are. Time to get back on the grind, right? A lot of stuff has happened. I've also just been really, really busy and just haven't had time. I just had some time in my spare time to chill and build all this, which it's been a trip. It's been ridiculous. But anyway, so I want to take you guys along on the process of how I build stuff and how I'm going to build this AI system, which will be really neat. Basically, what it will end up doing is it will take it will take all the information from the farms up here and it will process that information. It'll also take other information for stuff that I'm doing up here. It will be able to monitor certain things that I'm doing, and it will determine the likeliness that I may use this certain set of armor or something. You know, like I'm most likely to use a certain set of armor because that's what I've been using the most over the last 100 days or whatever. You know, it'll keep track of a lot of information, and I'll also be able to talk to it and have actual conversations with it, which is what this chest here does. This is the AI response. So I'll have certain buttons here. They're not in yet, but once I build the system, obviously they will be. So I can say like single item inputs only for reasons that I'll get to later. But I can say, hey, okay, run this for the AI system. Then the AI system will kick on. It'll send a response, and then I can read the response, and it will tell me what's happening. It might ask me a question, and I might be able to respond by giving information through one of the buttons there. Or if it's a simple yes/no, maybe it just needs to know a yes or a no. Then I have this up here, which is the AI response, which I can reply yes or no, which just goes through the yes/no logic bus system that will take it over to the AI system, and then it will send another response. I have a lot of stuff planned for the system. I have a lot of stuff planned for the lore of the city up above. Streams are going to be coming back soon. Videos of me building the AI system, and then once that's done, and once I get the hole dug that I've been digging for way too long, but it's just so grindy, I need to get that done. That's what I will be focusing on streams primarily until that is completely done. And then once that's done, then I can actually start building all of this in survival, which will be nice because then I can really get to some good videos of because then I can start actually designing buildings and actually doing some terraforming and all that fun actual build stuff, in addition to having this massive insane system to manage the entire world. I have a lot of lore planned for the city as well. I literally have notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks. I have 2 notebooks full of all of the information and ideas about this system. I have a notebook dedicated to just the lore. I have sticky notes full of I think 2 or 3 episodes in advance on what I want to do for those episodes, for videos. I got a lot of stuff planned. I just need to actually get on it. So without further ado, I think that's the end of this video. Next video, we start building the AI. Oh boy.